I'm back with my guest, Mark Harris, who's been here each Tuesday this month discussing war-era feature films and documentaries made by directors who served during World War II. Mark, welcome back.
Thanks very much.
Let's talk about that scene near the end, Dana Andrews in the airfield. Robert Sherwood, the writer, didn't know how to write that scene and essentially said to Wyler, "This one's on you."
Yes, it was the only scene in the movie where Sherwood said to Wyler, "You have to use the language of movie direction to convey what you want to convey here, because I can't do it through dialogue." And that made sense in a way, because it's a scene in which Andrews is by himself, just wandering through an airfield, and as we see, it's the moment when the trauma of his past, the terror of what he experienced, finally comes out of his system and maybe is purged in a way that is going to allow him to go on with the rest of his life. And it's conveyed to us through camera technique and through kind of impressionistic audio, where you hear these dead planes in the airfield appear to roar to life, and it also seems to be, with the camera moving in, a kind of ever greater pressure inside Dana Andrews' head. It was something that Wyler really had to create out of the language of film.
And all, I imagine, sounds that were very much in Wyler's head from his experience.
Right, and it's particularly moving to me that Wyler, who had lost almost all of his hearing in a plane, realized that this scene would have to be created sonically, that it was really the sound of engines that would have to mean something, and that could mean something to audiences.
Let me ask you this, get your reaction to it. As a Mankiewicz who doesn't make movies, I'm still very proud of the Mankiewiczes who do. And Joe Mankiewicz won 4 Oscars in 2 years, winning writing and directing back-to-back years for Letter to Three Wives and All About Eve. But it just occurs to me that essentially William Wyler did the same thing. It's just that he went into World War II in between. But for Mrs. Miniver and Best Years of Our Lives, that's really back-to-back.
It is back-to-back. It's funny, one of the whole reasons I wanted to write my book initially was to explore the kind of resume gap. There's nothing between Mrs. Miniver and The Best Years of Our Lives on a resume except for space, because of course there were no feature films. And it's easier for us to say, oh, Wyler, Capra, Huston, Stevens, they went into World War II, and then they started making movies again. But of course, that experience changed them, including Wyler, so completely that there's nothing for Wyler between Mrs. Miniver and The Best Years of Our Lives, and there's everything for him.
Mark, thank you very much. Great stuff.
Thank you.
Mark and I are finished for the night, but the films of William Wyler continue with a war documentary from 1944. Stay with us.